All right, so what's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to the DenOfTruth. It's your boy Tino, and today I got Tommy with us. Tommy, what's up? Talk
Not
to the
bad,
people.
man. Not much. What's good?
What's good?
See, you got a new theme song and all that now.
You know, we're doing different things. We're doing different things, but look, for people who are watching, we're doing something different now. This is a new segment on the DenOfTruth platform. So Tommy's going to be more of a recurring guest, and we're just going to chop it off and basically have the conversations that we usually have. But yeah, that being said, Tommy, what's good? Tell me about how you been doing, man. Since the last time I saw you, how was that? Like a year? Not a year? 9 months? 9 months or so?
Was it what's the last one we had? It's like middle of last year or something.
It was like middle of last
yeah.
year,
So it's a lot been happening, man. OTG, managing that shit, music scene, just working, like a lot of stuff, man, especially with, 6 months in with the whole music stuff. Like it's been a lot to manage and shit like that. But
No, it's fucking crazy, man. Like, look, if think about the last time we recorded a podcast and the shit we were talking about, and then fast forward it to now and how much things have changed, it makes you realize that, like, we didn't know shit.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, man. It's like, guys, like, to be honest with you, man, like, for this whole music thing,
Yeah.
bro, like, if anyone knew me before this, like, cause like, I did not know music. I was not into the whole music industry. I was just a dude working 9 to 5, with the boys and shit.
Yeah.
And then Paul calls me up. He's like, "Oh, the music thing's popping.
Yeah.
Told me I need you to be a manager." I was like,
Yeah.
"All right." I got no clue, man. But yeah, a lot of stuff's been happening. I think we started back in November or so. That's when Anything Goes was the first track that came out. Just fast forward to this year, man. COVID, everything, fucking up some of our schedules, shooting some videos. But yeah, man, it's been a weird year, to be honest with you. Like, it's also been a year of a lot of learning as well.
It's been challenging. I mean, through. I think with everyone, I think that everyone had a great rollout for the beginning of the year, and then this year has sort of made everyone sort of adapt to what is actually happening. So whether you're artists, some artists were keen to sort of get out there and start performing. Some artists had songs for the next couple of months, and boom, that completely changed. And it's not just artists; it's people who had plans for savings. Sort of people wanted to buy houses. All that shit's down the drain right now. But to get to your point, one thing that I was reading about is that, like, if you don't adapt to your current situation, you're going to die. Not as in die, but as in, like, you're going to fail, right? So whether we accept it for what the current situation is and, what's actually happening, we don't really have a choice. You have to accept it. Like, all this stuff is the norm right now, whether that's, like, going to a restaurant and signing in. That's crazy. Like, but that's the norm for the next, year or so going down.
But I don't think it's a year, cuz I think, like, this is, like, moving forward. The long-term effect is, like, you're gonna start seeing life, like, pretty much normal life is gonna change, man. Like, I reckon government's gonna have a bigger role. You know what I mean? Like, overwatching us. Like, just think about, like, bro, like, it is the new norm. I don't think within a year, I don't think even COVID's gonna disappear. I think it's just gonna be like the new flu that we're gonna get to a vaccine somehow. But otherwise, like, if you catch COVID, you go to the doctor's here. Here's the medicine, go treat yourself, kind of thing now.
Yeah.
And I feel like also it's opening a lot of room for for the government to curb your civil liberties, your freedom.
Break that down, man. What do you mean by that? Because we saw a little bit of that in Melbourne. Like, a lot of the Melbourne people I've been following, and, like, what's been happening in Melbourne. That really interested me because.
Yeah, man. Like Melbourne's a great example, dude. Like, everybody's coming out mandatory face masks. They fine you like $5,000 if you walk out the house for non-essential shit or something like that. Stuff like that, man. Like, and why I notice is, like, Australia, like, typically we're like a laid back culture, so we're literally just sleepwalking into the government just passing laws and shit like that, and no one really gives a fuck about it, which is weird because I'll give you some examples. Like, if you check your iPhone and you go to settings and stuff, it has, like, COVID tracking. No one told you about that. But you got COVID tracking on your phone. So you got COVID tracking, go on settings and disable that shit. Or the COVID Safe app, where, like, it's then tracking contacts and stuff like that.
I'm gonna do that right now.
You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna be we're opening a lot of room for the government to just invade into our privacy, tracking where we're going, and then we also got biometric scans going on now. Like I reckon you can't even enter a country without putting your your fingerprint and putting more information and stuff like that. Like you're pretty much just giving information. I think it's gonna go to that point where it's gonna be ultimatum, where let's say you get offered a new job in a country or a new country or something like that, or even you go traveling, they're going to force you, if you don't do this or you don't do that, then you can't go to the certain location or something like that. So you're going to have to just fall for the ultimatum.
Well, a question that I had was, like, just in general to people, is that what happens if they say for you to travel Australia or for you to get out of the country, travel or wherever you're going, you need to get a vaccination? That's where I see where it's going.
Yeah.
Now, let's be real. A lot of people are going to want to travel. Well, they said that the next time, realistically, people are going to be able to travel next overseas, like 2022.
2023, something like that.
2023. So what's that, 2 to 3 years?
Yeah.
At that time, people are going to be freaking begging to get out of the country in terms of traveling, seeing their family. So what happens if they say, for you to get out of the country, you need to get a COVID vaccination? And look, I'm not a hater. Like I'm not anti. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not anti like the movement of what's good for people, but at the end of the day, I totally believe in some sort of self-governance in terms of, this period of time has made me realize also is, okay, fair enough in saying that COVID is a very dynamic sort of thing. We don't have enough information on it, but the government don't know shit too.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, look at the relationship between the federal government and then the state government, especially now in Victoria. Look at the relationship and look at what's happening. I mean, especially when it came to the towers being locked down, and for people, just to break it down, I know people already know and people are already over it, what's happening in Victoria, but Scott Morrison went out and said that, that the state premier shouldn't have handled the situation in that way. And the state premier goes out like an hour later and says that it was the best strategy moving forward. So I'm thinking in my mind, look, if you guys are the government of Australia, don't you guys have conference calls where you can actually talk strategy and talk about what's going on?
Yeah. I think, look, in terms of like how our country's around, it's like it's state rights. You know what I mean? Like you have to divide federal, separate them from the state, and there's a lot of confusion going on right now as well, where like you said, Dan Andrews is saying one thing, Scott Morrison saying the other thing, and then New South Wales saying one thing, and then you got Queensland Premier saying another thing. But like, I think it makes sense a little bit because you gotta treat it as a state by state basis.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Victoria is like, it's just, I don't know what happened there. Like shit just spiked.
Yeah.
New South Wales is like, it's all right now, but like Western Sydney is a hot spot now. But like, it's just like to do a blanket statement. I think what they're trying to do is just save the economy at the moment, man, and keep everyone's safety. But like that's Scott Morrison's goal, right? He's just trying to keep employment. He's trying to keep jobs, the GDP up, and then you got Victoria in a crisis now where they have to lock down. So the federal government's got their own agenda of just preserving the economy, and then you got the state government trying to do their thing as well. But yeah, definitely. But definitely there's a lot of confusion at the moment with the messaging. Yeah. I think it confuses a lot of people. Like every day is a new restriction or a new fine and no one really knows. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like there needs to be a better coordination between all levels of government, and then when you go announcing it to different states, based on the premiers, then there has to be like a cohesive agreement what's going to go on, even though there's the different requirements on states.
Well, I was reading, they said that over 250,000 jobs are going to be cut in Victoria. Can you check that, Indigo? Can you check that? Also, just to shout out Indigo in the back doing his thing, got to give him a little shout out, shout out to him. Yeah, very nice.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah. So when Indigo's getting the Melbourne stats, but I think
which stats you want?
We just want. There was an article that came out and said that there are going to be over 250,000 people losing employment. Yeah.
So, but I think the federal national unemployment figure is 10%. But what trips me out about this thing is, what people don't know is, unemployment is 10%. It's peaking to 10%, which is a bad thing. Like, don't get me wrong, but by the definition of unemployment, it is people who are out of a job still looking for a job.
Yeah.
People still haven't considered the labor participation rate. they're finding that
break
people
that
actually
down
give up on
for people, because that's what what we're trying to do now. Try to give people that information.
Yeah.
Some people don't know the difference.
Yeah, so pretty much unemployment is like I said, someone who is out of a job but is still looking for a job actively. So that figure's at 10%, that's pretty bad actually. I think that's the worst we've ever been in. And then labor participation rate is actually people who are out of a job and they stopped looking for a job, or if they're looking for a job. So I think the rate now is actually at 64%.
Yeah.
So you got nearly half the people who are unemployed stop looking for jobs, and then you also got the stimulus package. Everyone's getting like 1.3K a week or something like that. So like we're just spiraling into debt. GDP's down. Yeah.
Tax rates are going to be crazy after this. Give it 34 years, watch it. Tax rates are going to be crazy. But you know what? That's in everything being said, I guess that's the benefits of living in a country like Australia, where the government's going to give you 1.3 a fortnight. Hey, that's not much, but it's something. There's many countries that don't get those benefits. Yeah. There's many countries that are not getting the benefits yet. You get put into quarantine. At least you get some lump sum. All that. At least it's better than nothing, man. Because there's some countries out there, it's serious, man.
Yeah.
People.
I think you got to treat it as each country can't really do the stimulus package, because Australia we only got 20 million people as a population. Like it's possible for us to give 1,300 a week, to people who are out of a job. If you look at America, where they got how many, 320 million people, and nearly, and their GDP dropped by 30%. This quarter, which is worse than the the GFC crisis. Yeah. And then you're trying to give them a stimulus package across over 50 states. It's not going to work. Yeah. And I feel like after this though, world debt is just going to increase, and after this, if we ever get out of COVID, you're going to see a higher tax rate just to pay off the debt.
Crazy.
So everyone prepare for that shit, man, because I'm not ready to pay over half my income tax.
Man, see the way we start this, we start off with this. God, we get straight into the politics, man. Yeah. Shit, we didn't give people a break. We didn't give them a little, ease into it. But on a lighter note, though, we were talking a little bit about the music scene and the work that you've been doing, and the development and the learning and the failings that you've been through over the last 9 to 10 months.
Yeah.
And you know what, it got me really thinking about the conversations that we've been having, and I think these also has to do with the conversations that a lot of people are having, because on one hand, some of my brothers who are in the culture who are doing amazing things, who are not necessarily getting the limelight from the mainstream, which they don't need. Because at the end of the day, if you got your product and you're going straight to the consumer, that's really all you need. You don't need any middleman. You don't need anyone else. It just has to be you and the consumer. A lot of the conversations a lot of us are having is that one thing that needs to happen is that there needs to be an actual cultural change. Yeah. Right. Listen, you can put out as much product as you want. You can put out as much music as you want, but the market and the people around it have to be somewhat receptive to what it is and be ready for that. Right, and I think that's what's happening. I think one thing that Australia doesn't have, which it should, and look, we're talking about hip hop. So we'll talk about entertainment. Let's just break it down to entertainment. Is that if you look at different other scenes around the world, you have athletes who are invested in the culture, entertainment. You have different types of other personalities. Sometimes you even have politicians who reference certain things which are happening within entertainment. In Australia right now, I feel as if it's a bit of we're going through. Entertainment industry is sort of being shunned by the greater society. Because put it this way, right now the best artists, and I say best in terms of some of the artists. I want to say best. Okay, let's just say best. Actually, no. Let me take that back. Let me word that right. An artist who's doing great. Yeah. Both domestically and internationally, is a young Indigenous male. Right. We're not talking about it in Australia. It's not in the mainstream media. How is that not in the mainstream media? Yeah, 100%. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think what it is so I got a lot of views on the music scene, and look, I've only been in the scene for 6 months, so there was a lot to learn, but what I'm starting to see because the market's so premature, look, Aussie hip hop's always been there, right? With the OGs, Bliss and Esso, Hilltop Hoods, Cursor. But now that credit to 1-4 as well. Like now that pretty much there's so much exposure now we're actually seeing real international exposure from Europe and a little bit of parts in the US as well. And now that the market's still so premature that now it's created this bubble. It's just this bubble where pretty much all it is, we're just seeing a lot of artists come out with the same sound, which is, don't get me wrong, like it should be like this at the moment, but like what we're seeing is like the scene's being diluted to the point where like it's just the same content coming out every single month.
Yeah.
And I feel like at the beginning we were starting to see that, like, so like pretty much late last year was when like all eyes was on Aussie hip hop, all eyes was on Aussie drill. Everyone's like, you know, it was just popping, and everyone's views were just going up, you know, because international eyes were looking at it. But then now we're moving, you know, later in the year where the scene's a little bit diluted with the same content that's coming out. It's like now you're seeing everyone's views are starting to drop, because there needs to be a cultural change, and right now I feel like in terms of the culture as well, it's like it's still so early where every artist is trying to make it themselves. Every artist is trying to do it themselves. Yeah. Well, but you have to see, like in the UK, everyone's together. Everyone's pushing the scenes together. Everyone's working together. US is the same thing. I feel Australia, like we're still early, but we're gonna get to that point where people start realizing, we need to start working together with different artists rather than just pushing our own agenda.
Yeah, and I think this is piggyback what you were saying. Also, it's just like, I think also, you know, domestic market is extremely important, man. You gotta be popping in your backyard first, obviously, because those are the people you're influencing. But also have an international perspective. You know what I mean? You know, Australia's not the only place where people consume music. There's other countries, there's other markets that people consume music. So you don't necessarily have to cater all the time to such a domestic market, and it's okay to try different things, man. Have an international mindset. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to reach out to people from Brazil. You know what I'm saying? Don't be afraid to do shit. You know what I mean? It's all right. And like you said, man. Like one thing that I fucked with is this was last weekend. I was in Fairfield. And there was a collective. It was called Four Walls. Let me make sure I'm getting that name right. I want to make sure I shout out these boys in the correct way. Give me a second.
At the barbershop?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, Four Walls. Yeah, shout out to them Four Walls. You know what I mean? I grew up in Fairfield. Went to high school in Fairfield. And, you know, growing up in Fairfield, it was so difficult for me to find places where, you know, you could go to a place and listen to music that you like, or go to a place where it's just like a bunch of creative people there. You know, you got singers, you got, you know, someone cutting hair, you know what I mean? You got some illustrators. I went there to Four Walls and I saw the same thing there. You know what I mean? And I just thought that was so dope. I thought that these boys are going to influence a lot more kids and a lot more people that you know, that maybe they don't think that they're influencing. And it just really got me thinking about the importance in investing in culture in the community that you're from. Yeah. Because shit ain't cool unless you make it cool. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, 100%. If something is not cool, okay, cool. But if you have the ability and if you have the resources to add your source to it, to develop it a little bit, and to, you know, actually, you know, give it out to people in a different way, why not? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we've seen, you know, after seeing what I saw at Four Walls, I was like, they did this right in Fairfield, the heart of Fairfield, which is in Western Sydney for people who don't know. You know, they could have done it in the city, they could have done it in Sydney, but they chose to invest in their own community, and now they'll eventually reap the benefits of that. Yeah. You know what I mean? I thought that was so cool.
I think a lot of people are starting to see that Western Sydney is a trend, to be honest with you, man. Like, yeah?
What do you mean by that?
Like, think about it. All the music's coming out from Western Sydney, man. Like, you know, it doesn't matter if it's Greater West, in the West, South West, whatever. Yeah. Like, it's just Western Sydney as a culture, we are like the music. Like, it is coming out from a rap perspective. Yeah. And I feel like I said, man, before, it's still so premature, and I think that a lot of artists are gonna realize that it's not just, the scene needs to come together, pretty much, man. It's very hard for you to, you know, domestically, don't get me wrong, like, it's domestically, like, for you to actually be more effective in capturing the whole domestic market, people want to see more collaborations between different artists, local artists. You know what I mean? If one artist is popping and then the other artist is popping and they're not collabing together, then there's a problem. There needs to be the culture together, because then once you take over the national, the domestic market, and then as an international investor, if you're looking into Australia and you're saying like, okay, this scene's being pushed all together, there's some dope shit coming out, the culture's there, then as an international audience or international investor, you would put your money there. Or you would tune into that. But you're starting to see like different, fragments within the scene. It's very hard to, and that's what I mean. Like, you have a point in investing in the culture as well.
It's important, man. It's like, not everything, like, we're talking a lot about entertainment and music and shit, but not everything has to be entertainment and music. Because not everyone does that. There's different things that you can do. Whether if you're an artist or whether you're a business person. The notion that investing in your community in Australia, I don't know what it was, but I think growing up there was a bit of a thing that, if you weren't, because I don't want to generalize for like communities outside of our community, but let's just say our community, which is Western Sydney to Sydney community, there was a bit of a stigma that it wasn't cool to start off things there. You know what I mean? That you had to go to the city or like in different areas out there. But it's like, no, it doesn't. You don't have to be extra. Everything can just be in your own community. And through that, like, I think that's important. People get a bit more from that. You know what I mean? Because if I had that shit when I was in high school, I'd be there every day.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. I would have been at Falls every day, listening to music, networking. I wouldn't have to go all the way to the city. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have to go all the way to the capsules. I wouldn't have to go all the way there when I know that, this is right there in my backyard. And that would have encouraged me to do more different things. So shout out to Four Walls, man. I really fucked with that place. And shout out to, all the different creatives who are investing in their own communities and making shit that's not cool. Yeah. Shout out to you, because that's harder. If you ask me, that's harder. It's harder to, start off from the ground up. Invest in your community, be with your people. You know what I mean? And build that up, because that's only going to be great for everyone else. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think we have this conversation offline as well. It's like, you always bring up the points like Australia compared to international standard of culture, which is not cool yet. You know what I mean? Like, it's so premature.
Yeah. And look, to carry that on, it's like, I'm not saying Australians aren't cool. Of course. I love Australia. I love the peoples. I think Australia is a great country, but I just think that, there's a lot of shit that, we do sometimes that we know, and this is not new information, that we know that you're just copying the full drip. And look, everyone imitates. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you and say that when this started, there was another podcast that I imitated. Let's be real. Yeah. Everyone imitates, everyone's influenced, everyone is encouraged and inspired by different things, but you ain't copying the full drip.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Let's just say right now, if you saw an American artist, and they were full speaking, with Australian slang,
then you'd be like,
I'd be like, that's cool that they're doing that, but like, you're copying the full drip. Yeah. At least add some sauce to it. And when you're copying the drip and when you're imitating certain people all the time, it's like you get behind. Yeah. It's like, people don't want to hear the Australian version of Young Thug or D-Plug Europe. They want to hear you don't want to hear you. Yeah. They don't want to hear a copied version of something else because you're just behind. They want to hear you. I think when people realize that you're great in yourself, you're great in whatever you're creating, you have enough content to talk about in your own community, like just invest in yourself and do that shit rather than just copying another culture, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be Lil Broad.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like, like a lot of countries are looking at us like as the little bro. Not even that, man. It's like, to extend on your point, it's like, if you're copying, as an Australian artist, let's just say, if you're copying the whole drip of a US, like a US scene, then as a US audience, I mean, like they'll look at us like, why would I listen to this guy all in Australia making the same shit when I can listen to the American artists over here? Because when you put it together, man, it's like, if an Australian dude is making like American sound or American music, it's like, that's like at the bottom tier of the genre that they're listening to. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, you gotta...
Unless it's super unique and you're coming out with a different But if you're just... regular.
Same sound, same everything, man. But I feel like, look, like I said, it's the scene's so premature. It's a lot of shit that artists are still trying to work out, managers as well, including myself. It's like, bro, it's so early that there's so many things to learn along the way, and I feel like everyone's gonna start realizing now that, okay, some of the shit we're doing is whack, some of the shit we're doing, isn't authentic, and and everyone's pretty much separated from from the culture kind of thing. Everyone's trying to make their own waves. I feel like later on, maybe next year or so, everyone's gonna start realizing, bro, like, to really get Australia back onto an international standard, or actually even start one, then there's that point that everyone needs to start investing in the culture, start being authentic to who you are, make your own sound, add your little drip to that shit, and that's pretty much it, man.
Yeah.
We also got to consider, like, with COVID, we don't have a physical space for artists to connect and network at the moment. You were talking about four walls, but we've got digital publications that people don't know about. People are trying to start shit up, but you can't engage with them because there's no physical space that they can represent.
Most definitely, it makes it a lot. It does make it a lot harder because also now people can't do shows, you can't do parties.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It makes it take like that.
And that's what like really pushes the scene, man. Because people want to like go to events and start looking at your local artists and who else is there. Yeah. And I feel like COVID's really pushed back the Australian scene as well. Like by a significant amount, man. Just. Like everyone's losing the bag here, man. Everyone's not, everyone wants to go perform and all that, including ourselves. But shit, like it is what it is. But I feel like, like hopefully, moving forward, it's a new norm. Restrictions start, start loosening up, and then, hopefully, the live performance scene is back, because that's really that's what's really holding back the Australian scene. We saw that at the beginning of the year and last year. That's when everyone's eyes on us kind of thing. But now it's like, it's even hard just to shoot a fucking video these days.
It's taking,
it's so hard just to schedule the amount of people, according to different restrictions, and then, getting locations in, like everyone's quality is just being stagnated by this COVID thing at the moment as well. So we definitely got to take that in consideration, man.
Yeah. Man, but we're grinding, man. Everyone's trying to work, and I see everyone working and everyone trying, man. As long as you're trying, man, like keep grinding, man. Just do what you do. But yeah, it reminded me, man. Fuck, man. I was on the hack in Triple J yesterday.
Yeah, what happened there?
Shout out Triple J.
Shout Triple J.
But what happened there, man? Tell us.
So basically, the hack is it's a show. It was 5:36 on Triple J. And, there's a lot of I guess the topic structures are more like I would probably say political and current news. I'll probably say that's more so the topic structure. And I was in the room, man, and as I said, slot was 5:36 p.m. And man, I don't know what it was, but I had this compelling feeling just to shout out everyone. You know what I mean? Shout out OTG, shout out DenOfTruth, shout out fucking Nani, shout out List, shout out Celtic Systems. I just wanted to give a shout out to all my peoples, because like at the end of the day, it's like one thing that pisses me off and goes back to what we were talking about, is that there's so many cool people doing so many cool things, but sometimes when it doesn't align with an agenda, it gets left in the limelight. But man, I'm saying fuck the agenda. If something is cool, let that thing be known. Especially when you have a platform where you can make change, and it's not about, I have to completely get out of my way to make change. It's like, no, if you got a platform, brother, and you're benefiting from the culture,
just put someone on, man.
Put someone on, especially when you're a beneficiary of the culture and you know that your whole getup, your whole aesthetic is based off another culture which you have just gotten the complete swag from, and now that you're in that position, you're choosing to ignore the truth. But like I said, let's get back to what I said, and we could dive deeper. You'll know what I'm saying now. But what we talked about, and a lot of people have told me this, and obviously there's a difference. I feel like there's a difference between understanding some shit and then someone telling you it. Yeah. Because someone could tell you something to your face, and you may follow it, but you never really understand it until you go through it. You know what I mean? You never understand what that person or what that piece of advice is till you really go through it. Yeah. So a bunch of people throughout the time have told me a lot about, you don't need the middleman. All you need is your product or whatever you do, your service, and you need a domestic market, because they need you. any other product or any other organization need you more than that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like even think about we're talking about even think about the OTG page. It's like even during truth, how many people does it touch?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so if we know that this is the market and we know this is how much people that we can touch, then why do we need another platform? Especially when that platform is because we work for corporations, so we know there is nothing that goes down in an organization that hasn't gone through at least 10 eyes.
Yeah.
There's no like decision which is just made in a day. There are grown people in these decisions who are making aligned business decisions based on the organization's agenda for that year, for that month. It's broken down.
Yeah.
So if choosing to ignore that is people at the top choosing to be ignorant to what is going down. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Look. I feel like there's a big movement these days, man. Like everyone's doing independent. Like the whole point of middleman and stuff. Like I think we're at this stage where like millennials now, or even our generation, start realizing like that's some bullshit. Just, plug it out because. And I feel like we see it through every artist that we see in Australia or even in international now. Everyone's moving to that independent. You know what I mean? And they're starting to own platforms because they know about these current institutions at the moment. It's like it's such a big bureaucracy, but it's such behind on things. And they're relying on people on the field. Like, hey, like what's cool, what's popping here? Can we capitalize on it? Yeah. But like why? Like, but right now we're starting to see like you mentioned Four Walls, or you mentioned like even Southern Systems. You know what I mean? Like shout out Stanley as well. But like, and OTG as well. We're trying to do this thing where it's like everyone's trying to push. Yeah. We know what's cool because we're in the scene. You know what I mean? Everyone's in the scene now, and we start to capitalize that. Actually organize it, put an organized man into the business kind of thing at the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah, because people don't.
But people don't understand, man. Motherfuckers are out here, young entrepreneurs, young men, young females, trying to do some shit.
Yeah.
People don't understand the effort it takes to create something like this. And once you start creating something like this, you realize that, hey. This was 9 months of hard work, but I'm here.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I'm saying? I'm here. I'm in the room. 5:30, 6 p.m. The hack. I was in the room. Y'all heard my voice. I was there. You know what I'm saying? Nah, fuck with y'all. But to your point, that direct to market it's there now, man. The opportunities are there for people, and. And this, if anyone here that listens, if you're watching this podcast and you're in a position that you do work for a middleman type of company, reach out.
Yeah.
Reach out. All you got to do is reach out.
Yeah. Because you guys got, they do have the platform. They do have a big team that's actively looking as well, don't get me wrong. But, also, like I said before, man, I encourage everyone, even anyone who's starting off or everyone who's trying, because the culture's so premature at the moment. It's like this is the best time to start opening your shit, start doing things, start collaborating with different artists or collaborate with different bodies. Different influences to push the scene up as well. And it's pretty much the same thing. It's competition, man. You got the big platforms, you got the institutions who have been here for ages now. And they're still trying to capitalize on the culture, same as us. We're trying to push the culture as well. And if they don't catch up, or if they don't put someone from the culture on, then they're gonna be behind. So there's always that competition, element to it. And I think they're gonna have to catch up. These big.
But that being said, a big emphasis on we can do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Product, service. To consumer, to the market, we build from there. The people know what's up now, and we've seen the crazy numbers that people now we've seen the crazy numbers. We've seen that there's some feasibility behind this.
Yeah,
it might not be next month, it might not be next year, it might not be in 2 years, but when that hits, it's going to hit. You know what I mean? And the groundwork is already there. I'm just impressed now, man. I see so many collectives, and you get to see. Young entrepreneurs, man. I love seeing my people win, man. I love seeing people. I love seeing concepts. I like seeing people do things from the ground up. You know what I mean, and really build something. I fuck with that. Yeah. You know what I mean. And we're starting to see a lot of that in Sydney, man. Hopefully people don't get discouraged or people don't not continue to do it because it's just a matter of time. If we keep just focusing on what's happening here, but also having an international perspective of how we're looking things and how we're viewing things, I think it's definitely there. And we're going to get there.
Yeah, you just got to turn the frame as well. It's like like the scene right now, we're stuck in such a big bubble, man. You know what I mean? Like, and that bubble was just like
Well, can you break that bubble down for people, because you got to remember you're in it.
Yeah,
so
100%.
the way that you look at this bubble is very different to how a regular person who consumes a song or who watches or goes to an event looks at it. What do you mean by the bubble?
You just gotta look at how do I explain this, man? Like, pretty much, you're seeing a lot of artists, you know, like obviously the ones who are doing big numbers as well. But at the same time, that bubble with the thing is like everyone's releasing the same music.
Yeah.
Everyone's releasing the same content, talking about, caught up in this area of beef shit. It's like that's all cool because that is part of the culture kind of thing as well, and that's translating to music. But then that bubble is what is keeping other independent artists in Australia, different states, different parts of Western Sydney, or who are not in that at the moment. They're being ignored by the general audience because pretty much the current institutions or the current bodies within that bubble isn't necessarily putting the resources out to put these other artists on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the bubble in terms of from an international perspective as well. If you're just let me ask everyone the questions. Like, if you are an international investor at the moment and you're looking down into Australia, would you invest in the culture at the moment?
So
everything that's going on.
If I was an international investor and I'm looking into Australia and I'm looking into entertainment, realistically, I would not. Okay. We also got to take into consideration population size, how long this scene has been in here, profitability. Okay, let's take it. Let's sort of take that out of the equation and just look at it from a perspective of what I see. I'd probably be very reluctant because, one, there's no specific sound. Two, the Australian culture in general doesn't really foster entertainment, or the entertainment is very specific. You don't have many people from outside sports people, politicians, actors, other entertainers investing within hip hop. And also it's like, I think that sometimes the Sonics are a bit delayed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're very we're about 1 to 2 sounds delayed every single time.
International, yeah.
But that being said, if I was an international investor, I would be excited though. Because I'm starting to see that it started.
I seen it as popping.
It started, yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like, it's still so premature.
Yeah.
But at the rate that we're going, with the same sound, the same content keep coming out, different new artists keep popping up as well, but then they release the same shit.
Yeah.
It's diluting the scene to the point where, like, because like I said, beginning of the year, late last year, like I feel like there was a big boom within the culture, within that scene, right? But then now, like, it's starting to die down across the general scene where, like, the views are down across every major artist as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not doing the same numbers as they would within a week kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's because the scene's so diluted. Now, as an international investor, I would look at that and be like, okay, the scene was popping, there was booming, let's keep an eye on it. But then over the course of several months, the shit's still the same. Shit is actually getting worse. New artists are actually not making anything more innovative or different sound. They take their eyes away from it. You know what I mean? And they probably won't look into, that international investor would not probably look into our scene for the next couple of months or maybe a year, pushing the whole scene back, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I fuck with you. And everything that you're saying is logical, man. And, I definitely feel like some of the content is there for artists to be creative enough, and I think it's starting to grow. Well, how many minutes we in? 39 minutes in. Shout out to the real listeners. 39 minutes in. I know who you are. Every time I see you talk about 39 minutes in. So shout out to everyone who's still with us.
Hey, quick question. Can I pop a ciggy in there?
Do what you do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, you can't? Damn. Man,
Bro, we got to do that, man. I don't know when it is. I told myself if I ever got an interview with Snoop Dogg, I'd be smoking.
Guys, it's like
that's my like. I know when it's time If it was like Snoop Dogg, I'm smoking there and then. I don't care what occasion we're in. We're smoking.
Bro, it's Snoop Dogg. If you ask you on the interview, like, even if he doesn't mention smoking,
You know.
it's a mandatory. You know,
you
like,
know,
when
you
get
gotta keep one around.
you gotta smoke.
You gotta keep.
He's gonna give you a blunt. You know what I mean?
It is crazy, man. That actually reminds me. What was the most when you first started smoking? What was the artist that really had? You know how every artist, every person when you first start smoking, there's an artist who you listen to crazy, and that forms a certain part of your childhood or late teens. I would honestly say for me, it was Wiz.
It was Wiz Khalifa, man.
Yeah.
Taylor Gang.
It was Taylor Gang. It was Taylor Gang. Remember we used to get the fucking the sweaters with the Taylor Gang. Wiz made a killing off that merch, bro. He made a killing,
bro. I remember we couldn't get it because I don't think they did international shipping back in the day, so we had to like go in this custom tees. Like you got to print out Taylor Gang and shit. The quality's horrible. I mean, I was rocking that, but yeah, Wiz, bro. Like to be honest with you, I mean, I started smoking bud what. It was 13. You know what I mean? It was 13. It was Wiz Khalifa, man. That it was big. Like definitely, if anyone hasn't watched Wiz's day-to-days, man, I recommend you guys watching that shit, man.
Yeah. You know what? Wiz was cool because Wiz also he was on the internet shit very early.
Yeah,
like 100%. I feel like he had that internet game with the day-to-days and the merch.
Yeah,
and you know what I mean? Well. And the merch on point and the papers. Because a lot of people still only smoke with papers because of Wiz. Let's be real. He made that shit a trend.
Yeah, 100%, man. But yeah, Wiz, 100%, man. Like I think he was one of the first ones to do day-to-days. To be honest with you, man. Like,
there were probably other people who do this in some sort of other fashion, but he made it cool.
He made it cool.
He made that shit cool.
So yeah,
you know.
But yeah, man.
Oh man, that's interesting, man. Because I was thinking about a lot of the things that sort of influenced our childhoods and sort of the people who sort of shaped it, and it was definitely Wiz. And now I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, Wiz, no way," or whatever. But it's like, yo, Wiz had a fucking generation. He had a full generation of artists, of young kids. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Like the whole scene, Wiz, Mac Miller, Chevy Woods.
Yeah, Chevy. It was good, man. Yeah. So on to the next topic. So one thing that sort of had my energy this week was, the last 2 weeks was basically the African girls who went over to Brisbane. India, can you bring this up so I don't fuck this up?
Yeah, I didn't get the information.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to ruin this. So basically, India, can you just talk a little bit about backdrop of what does the article say and what they did?
Yeah, so we've got an ABC News article here, and the title is 3 Queensland Women Charged Over Alleged False Border Declarations. And it was outlining how 3 women crossed over the border to Queensland from Melbourne. But the problem with the article was that they gave the names of the girls.
Yeah.
And they received a lot of racially charged comments online.
Yeah. See, my issue is this. What they did was wrong. Then let's start that conversation and preference it for what it is. What they did was completely wrong. I'm not defending it.
Yeah.
They were wrong. But my whole thing is in New South Wales when the tourists came over early with the COVID and infected people, did they drop their names? Did they call them enemies of the state?
Yeah.
You know? Can you look that up, Indigo, as well? COVID cases for early New South Wales. They never dropped their names. They never dropped their personal details. They never shamed them. You know, and that's my issue with the media bias in Australia. I think probably the concept and the underlying issue here is the media bias in the culture. Understanding that the media is the media and it's entertainment purposes and they want clicks. Right, they want to put whatever gets people the most attention, whatever gets people the most outraged. Right, so what they did is they pretty much shamed these girls. They put their names out. But what about all the other white individuals who came to New South Wales, infected people, and they didn't receive the same treatment? Or what about in Melbourne? When the towers got locked down, and obviously the people in the towers, a lot of them were African descent, a lot of them were from immigrant descent, and they locked it down because they thought that those areas were a COVID risk, right?
Bro, it's not even that, man. It's like, I'm pretty sure, I'm sure like there's similar people to these girls doing the same shit, lying, falsifying the document, like, you know what I mean, their movements and what they've been doing just to get back into their state.
Yeah.
What trips me out about that is like compared to the lockdown or the quarantine hotels in Melbourne where, you know what I mean, security guards were fucking, you know what I mean, like the guests.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
Why didn't you put the names out for
Can you
them?
look that up? And get what was it, Tommy?
It was like just search up, I don't know, hotel fucking or something.
That's a cool.
Get some different shit there.
Everyone knows this, man.
Put up security guard sleeping with COVID.
Yeah, something like that. Like
yeah,
everyone,
they were like quarantine guards.
yeah,
But yeah, there's an ABC News article and the title's Coronavirus Quarantine Guards in Melbourne Hotels were recruited via WhatsApp, then told to bring their own masks. So it's outlining how they're not even really
they're not even trained.
Yeah,
you know
it's
what I
not
mean?
it's not an official thing. And you've been to a bar and you've seen how security guards are. Like,
Yeah, so let's be real.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. It's like, bro, these girls, don't get me wrong, what they did was wrong.
Yeah.
But like, I'm pretty sure that like other people do that shit as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you got a worse thing where Melbourne, their large spike was because of the hotel. Like,
Yeah,
security
literally.
guards fucking guests in return for favors.
Yeah.
And you're telling me like you didn't expose their names, put their faces on the front line, you know what I mean, on in the newspapers, but you got these two girls on it. That's what trips me out.
That's
about
crazy.
that shit as
It's
well.
crazy, and to the point I was making was that the towers which were locked down, majority of the people that came that were in the towers were from immigrant backgrounds, African communities. They were from that sort of environment. What about all the rich people that will bring in the disease? What's that area? I'm not sure if I'm ruining it. If I'm ruining it, let me know. Turek, was it?
Turak.
Turak?
Yeah.
Turak? Is that okay? Turak. What about all the rich people though in Turak bringing the disease there? What are they going to be locked out?
Yeah.
How does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think the bottom line, the issue what we were talking about, and I think that we got online is media bias. Don't even read the newspaper.
Yeah. 100%, man.
Like at this point, the newspaper for me solely is for entertainment. If I want to be entertained and read something which is funny, I would read the newspaper.
I feel like it's important to read it just to understand the perspectives that those different parties have, though. Like you can read the
I'm with
newspaper,
you.
but it's not necessarily.
Yeah.
Don't treat it as facts.
Yeah, 100%, man. I feel like our generation, or at least our like majority of people like us, we read that shit. We read it, not taking that shit to heart. It's like I'm reading so I can understand what's their agenda today. What's some shit they're trying to tell me today.
Well, when we're in high school, when we're in primary school, we're taught about propaganda. Like we're taught about that. We actually get
that's
educated
true.
on context and on intention behind information, and that's something that our parents didn't have. That's why my mom's telling me about some shit that she just unearthed on Twitter, and I'm like, but why?
Yeah.
Why are they telling you that? Like, you got to understand the intention. This is clickbait.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like, and my point is like, bro, like there's a lot of people who are before our generation or older people, you know what I mean? Like just, you know, the thing is the media is still catering to that audience.
The older generation.
You know what I mean? The older generation who didn't get taught.
Let me tell you something crazy. So I'll tell you a crazy story, man. And the individual probably watches this. So they get mad at me when I see this, right? So I was over in Wollongong.
Yeah.
Look, man, we're on the DenOfTruth, man. If we gotta talk when we talk, we gotta talk when we talk. If you feel offended or if I know you and I'm telling a story, I'm not gonna mention your name. But if the story is good, I'm gonna talk about it. I was in Wollongong with Gal, and she started talking about some bullshit. And I was like, so where did you get? Start talking about like, you know, some information about COVID and some other bullshit that it was clear bullshit or something to do.
You gotta break it down. You can't just say some bullshit.
They're breaking it down. Okay, so I basically went to Wollongong and I was talking to a girl, and you know, she was talking about an article which talked about you know, the tracking app. And the comment which I made to her was that, okay, I'm down to get I understand the concept behind the tracking app, but like, you know, let's do some research. Let's understand what's a tracking app. Let's understand its implications. Let's understand, you know, why and the whys and fools. I'm not just going to sign up to something without having the right information. Yeah. And then she was like, oh no, but the newspaper said this, and that. And I was like, all right.
I'm out.
Pass.
Pass.
Let's not have this conversation. I just said for the sake of like us, like me and you, and just moving on. Let's just not have this conversation. Can you look up? I'm pretty sure there was an article which recently, there's something that came out that recently said that the app is inefficient.
Yeah, there's so many articles about the app being inefficient.
Can you bring up one just so we can read the information?
I'm telling you, man.
Because I knew something was fucked up. So I knew something was going to go wrong with signing up to this app, putting in your GPS. I was like, look.
I'm telling you, man. Like, bro, that shit is legit. You're inviting the government to track where you are. Like, I don't get what motherfucker. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, safety, pandemic, the whole wider context, all right. But like, bro, like, just think about just long term wise. Do you think they're gonna roll this shit back? Maybe Australia. I don't know. Maybe Australia. Like, we don't know.
Yeah.
But like, we've seen enough through history. You know what I mean? Like, what government has done. You know what I mean?
Repeats itself.
Yeah, it just repeats itself, and we're just walking into it, just allowing them to do it.
Yeah.
But back to your point around fucking media biases, man. Like,
Sorry to cut you off, Tommy. Did you get up the article?
Yeah. I actually brought something up from the University of Sydney,
Okay,
which,
what does it say?
they got their own position on this anyhow, but
Yeah.
they were saying that the app adequately addresses privacy concerns and it's pretty low risk given that it can't access sensitive data on your phone. It's like they're saying that it's effective. It works if everyone has it. But there were also a lot of things that were detrimental to the performance of your phone if you were using the app. Like there was a big issue because it's constantly using Bluetooth, so your AirPod connection drops out if you have it, or Bluetooth headphones won't work whilst you're using it.
Yeah.
You'll experience degraded battery performance because you're always using Bluetooth. And I feel like, I mean, I'm listening to music all day. I'm not downloading that.
Yeah.
Like just on the basis of, I got headphones on.
See, those are just numerous factors which makes it inefficient. Like, you're not the only person that thinks like that. You know what I mean? Like, that's not only just.
But they were saying that like people being wary of data breaches is understandable at the moment, given that there has been misuse of data by a lot of big companies, and we're experiencing now our digital footprint. We don't even know the extent to what our personal digital footprint is.
Yeah,
If you go to Facebook and you go to your privacy, and you look at all of the apps that have access to your data, that
crazy.
shit is scary. If you want to go to anyone listening right now, right, go to your settings. And I mean, you guys can do this too. If you want to see some shit that's just like...
We're doing this now. This is a group exercise.
Go to your settings on your phone.
Shout out to everyone listening. 52 minutes. Let's just get into a group exercise.
So where we going, man?
If you got iPhone, you go to settings.
Yep.
You scroll down to privacy.
Privacy, where the fuck is that? Yep.
And then you go to location services.
Is there,
Privacy, location services. Yep.
is this the COVID thing I was talking about?
No, scroll down to the very bottom and go to system services.
System services. Shit.
And now when you scroll down to the bottom of that, or near the bottom, you'll see significant locations. Have a look at that. It should ask you for your password.
Bruh, you're just telling me where I am and shit.
All the time. And you don't, like, that's on. I mean, like, it's in your iCloud and it's end-to-end encryption and it can't be read by Apple, but it's still there, and you don't realize that that's there because people don't actually consider, like, what information do I actually have recorded about where I am? Like, if someone had my password, they could figure that shit out. Anyone who really wanted to know.
It's not even that, bro. It's like, even if they say there's no privacy concerns, this and that, like, it's all secure, but like, bro, you know for a fact, like, bro, they got these locations already here, where I am. You know what I mean?
They already got it.
already knows my metadata. They already know my preferences. They already know what I like. You know, and same thing as a COVID safe app. They're already tracking where I am. It's like, bro, like, even if the government hasn't, you know, taken the extra step of, like, you know, in tracking, like, you know, curbing our civil liberties and whatever, but you know, like, they're able to.
Yeah.
All the information is there. Yeah. They just need some
I think
event.
The worry is like 20 steps down the line, us having a similar system. So I think it's like China at the moment. They got their, like, every individual has
social
like a rating.
credit score.
Yeah, social
like
credit
shit
rating.
like that. Like, you just don't want to.
That'd be terrible.
Yeah, it's just like, bro, like, the more of our technology just grows, and the more AI, you know, is evolving, bro. I'm telling you now, man, you're gonna be tracked later on, and we'll just sleepwalk into it. And I think COVID-19 is a big excuse for this.
Terminator 2040.
There you go.
Well, that bring the conversation up. You guys were just talking about Facebook having your metadata and having information. So one thing that I have noticed is, even on Instagram, is that when I post particular things about particular topics, I'll give you an example. When I post particular things about, let's say when I posted about Black Lives Matter, at that time I posted about it, when I posted about particular topics, if they're trending, for example, like feminism, things like that, after about 1,000 views on Instagram, it hits a crazy algorithm. right? Now, if I posted something that's about conservatism, like our original thing, our original show that we did when we talked about even me and Tommy's original episode, we talked about conservatism and being progressive.
Capitalism, all that
Capitalism,
shit,
yeah. That won't hit an algorithm because conservatism doesn't necessarily align with Instagram's algorithm and agenda. So my point being is this: do you guys think that social media platforms have too much of a power in saying pushing an agenda? Do they have too much power in?
Yeah, so I think we have a lot of these conversations offline as well. But bro, like this is the thing here. Like, if anyone keeps up to US politics or just big tech in general, there's a lot of congressional hearings these days, like on free speech and how, should we change the laws of, or should we enforce big tech, to restrict them on controlling, free speech and stuff like that. But like in history, or like in the foundation of any democracy, there's always free speech. And like no matter what channel, no matter what broadcast or what platform it is, or how people conduct free speech, it's always going to be consistent, like a blanket statement. Free speech, and no censorship kind of thing. And small government. I'm all for small government. Right?
Yeah.
Like, me, if anyone's listened to my podcast before, like, I'm all for limited government. Government should not intervene into any business or any of your personal lives or any of your privacy, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then now that you're seeing a shift in a technological era where we got big tech, Facebook, Google, Twitter, they're running their own algorithms, and this is the main information source for anyone in our age category, right?
100%.
In our generation.
100%.
This is where we get our news. This is where we see our
Instagram,
shit.
you wake up in the morning, boom, I wake up,
Like
something's
100%,
happened. This
right?
is where I'm getting my information.
Where we look at and even like just stuff like that, or even, we look at the news now, the mainstream media, we're just like, fuck this shit. I know there's some bullshit you're spitting out. I'm going to go onto other sources, alternative sources to fact check this shit.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get these sources through Facebook, Twitter, whatever. But the thing is, now, if we're treating that as our main information source and finding information there, and these guys are running algorithms to pretty much censor some things, or push a certain progressive agenda or whatever, stuff like that, then there's that big argument of, should the government intervene into big tech to preserve free speech? Now, that really doesn't align with any conservative or anyone who looks in freedom is like why are we intervening into businesses? But is it necessary to do so now because they are interrupting free speech?
Well, my thoughts on that is that I believe that the government shouldn't be into anything, but I understand what you're talking about in terms of free speech. We're not talking about hate speech. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about people going out, speaking about things which are detrimental to individuals.
And to extend on that, it's like, bro, if someone says like blatantly, Asians are fucking,
Yeah.
Asians are stupid or some bullshit, or or black people this and that, or like just some pure, like just direct.
Yeah.
Then obviously Facebook, Twitter, and all that, they do have a role in removing that shit. You know what I mean? Because it's flat out derogatory.
Yeah.
But then it gets all muddled. It's so messy when it comes to fact checking, because that's what the government is trying to say now. Like, AOC, if anyone follows her, she's trying to push Facebook or Mark Zuckerberg. If anyone's seen the clip, she's like, "Are you guys gonna fact check every campaign? Are you guys going to fact check information sources?"
Yeah.
If you're leaving that to social media platforms, which they're already doing with the algorithms, now you're asking them to, are you going to fact check? It gets all messy, because when you look at like mainstream media, you don't believe it. So like I said, you go through sources and shit. But then each sources would have their own data to fit their narrative, or they would have data to back their statement.
Yeah.
But then now you're asking them to fact check that. It's like, how can you fact check when each side has data?
Yeah.
The only way to solve that is you need to have a free algorithm, clear of any bias, let people exposed to both sides, regardless how bullshit it might be, or regardless how skewed the stats might be. If you're really an intellectual or any common sense person, you would actually do your research and compare the two things and then come up to a decision. Not having someone, not having Facebook fact checking, oh, this is false or wrong, because AOC wants to fact check Trump's campaign for one. Look, we all know Trump, he says some shit. Some bullshit.
Just
some bullshit.
Yeah,
just some
he's
bullshit.
always-
You know,
yeah.
like he just fucking throws some bullshit out there. But like, think about it. His campaign also brings up statistics and shit like that.
Yeah.
Now, same thing as anyone in the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
You know, they would have their own statistics to serve their statement. So how can you fact check that? You know what I mean? Like, if you're fact checking, you can say about, oh, Trump's campaign is wrong. They're lying here. What's to say about you're lying as well on the other side of the aisle? You know what I mean?
Spectrum, yeah.
Every politician is lying. So if you're asking to fact check, then you might as well ban all you motherfuckers off the platform.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
My whole,
that's the thing.
My whole thing is that I feel like we're all living in a paradox and like a cycle of
A little matrix in that.
progression. It's like we're living in. You got people who are woke here, and people who believe that the woke people are not woke. So you got that.
Yeah, the
Right.
sleepwalkers.
And now it's just like a circle. Do you get
Yeah,
what
because
I'm saying?
everyone thinks the same thing about the other side, and I think the
and
funny
it's-
thing is that
it's
we're
not
on the same
productive.
shit as what people who were woke back when they were getting source, like all their information from the news, like our parents. Their woke was just picking which channel that they fuck with.
Fuck with-
And now we think that we're woke because we're on the same platform, picking which users we
Exactly.
fuck with. It's the same
Yeah,
thing.
it's the
We've
same
just
thing.
like we've just made it a little bit more
and-
macro.
Yeah, let me bring this up as well. Like COVID-19,
Yeah.
best example of this.
Yeah.
Now we know when we look at mainstream media, it's hysteria. Some
Yeah.
bullshit. They're just trying to, you know what I mean? Like, just trying to get people
Melbourne
scared.
might be locked down for 2 years.
There you go,
Yeah.
shit like that. But then we as a generation, we look at that as like, nah, that's some bullshit. I'm gonna fact
Do some
check.
research.
I'm gonna
I'ma
go
do
do
some
my own
research.
research.
Yeah.
But then the thing is, there's so much misinformation already going out. You know what I mean? Besides the mainstream media. Any motherfucker could just open up a website right now, the Daily Bugle or some shit, you know what I mean? And write some bullshit about COVID-19, about, you know what I mean? And then they put some statistics and then you read that, oh, did you know that, you know, the government's doing this and that? Did you know that it's a big conspiracy? It's like, so now it's like there's so much misinformation, and as our generation, I think the biggest problem for our generation now is like, where do we get our information from, and how can we prove it's valid? Because if we don't trust the mainstream media, because we all know that's flat out bullshit, but then we go through our sources as well, and some of that shit might be flat out bullshit, and then now you're going saying that I'm woke because I read this beyond the mainstream media, I'm woke, but then, you know what I mean? How can you really confirm whether that's true or not? Because there's a bunch of conspiracy theories out
It
there as
does.
well.
It does seem a little bit self-serving sometimes.
Yeah.
Like not to hate on anybody who does do their own research, but sometimes
It's to fit your
my
narrative.
personal belief is I just don't believe that it's that easy to come to a conclusion. If you really think that there's
with
like,
you.
you know what I mean? Like,
There's
okay,
too much information.
You did
though.
3 weeks of research on Twitter, and now like, and this is it. This is how the world works. Damn, like fuck my degree. That's how I see it. And
There's so much misinformation out there.
And also, a big part of it is that I don't understand how people I don't get how people get so. I get the reason why people are emotional, but why people get so emotional on social media. Like, I am not going to look at a post with less than 100 characters of text and fully understand the grasp of a concept. You know what I mean? And fully think that I understand what's going on with that country. I try to give myself 48 hours. Because in 48 hours, if I feel as if I know enough about that to post anything about it, I'll post something about it. But 9 out of 10 times, I'm not going to post anything about it. I'm going to try to find some practical solutions that I can do to deal with whatever it is. So if that means I donate, I will donate. I don't need to post about it. If that means I sign something to get something going, it's a petition or whatever, I will sign that. I don't need to be petitioning about it. But just because you're posting a square screen with 100 characters on a consistent basis does not necessarily mean you're a good or a bad person. It also does not mean you're an informed person. You know what I mean?
Right.
The thing is, the matrix of Instagram and the matrix of the internet and how it works is that it's not real life, fam.
Yeah.
Like, just turn your phone over for a day, and is your life going to go on?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then from then, if you turn off your phone for a day, and you're lost in what you can do on a day-to-day basis, then your phone consumes you. And I'm guilty of that as well. And I realized that when I started to use social media as a tool and a way to connect with family and friends who, let's say, I couldn't connect with, when I started using it in that capacity, I like it. I enjoy it so much more because I'm not consumed it. I scroll twice if I scroll twice and if I scroll twice, I won't scroll again. I turn my phone off. You know what I mean? Because now I'm just going into some bullshit. Some people I don't know.
Yeah.
Some dude bashes some dude.
Yeah, that's
some
what I'm
dude
saying,
pissing on some dude. I don't know where I'm at. I'm just scrolling. Some chick I don't even know. I'm just
Damn, what's
looking
your
at her.
algorithm?
I'm not even smashing. You know what I'm saying?
you
My
watching,
algorithm is
bro?
crazy. I don't know. I was
watching,
looking
bro?
at my finding. You know the find. Was it? Is it a discovery part on my
Yeah,
gram?
Yeah.
It was bare girls. It was just like all
That's
girls.
your algorithm.
That's what he's looking at. Yeah,
It was-
that's what he's
is that
looking at.
it? Is that it?
That's what he's looking at.
Yo,
Yeah.
bare back.
Dino just outed
Fucking-
himself.
And I was looking at it, I was just like, is there a reason why my discovery page is just all this?
Yeah, it is.
I'm talking about that's all it is.
Yeah, bro. That the reason is you double tapping.
Oh my
You
god.
double-
I'm just like a doll. I'm like a doll, man.
But yeah, man, no, fuck. Like, it's a lot of misinformation, too much information, man.
Yeah,
There's too
yeah.
much information for you to come to a conclusion now.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, and our generation is lazy when it comes to researching. We just like fast.
Yeah.
So when
You reckon that?
I reckon,
Most
bro.
definitely. We're extremely lazy.
I
People-
reckon, bro. Like there's two sides to this shit. Like the way I see it, there's two sides to our generation. The one who actually, all right, fine, we research, whatever. Like we go through it. But there's also ones where you just scroll through and you look at a photo on Instagram, 4 dot points, some statistics. You read it. Oh shit.
But
Share.
I think
Yeah,
You know what I
shit.
mean?
Yeah,
I think
that's my research.
the important thing is to use those as a springboard for your own research.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people out there who just share. You know what I mean? Like, and then that's it. They leave it at that.
Because my perspective on it, as someone who I feel shares, an average amount of, as Tina would put it, activist content. It's there to not just. It's there not just to like educate people or inspire people to then educate themselves.
Yeah.
It's there to actually raise awareness about it as a conversation topic. Because I know that a lot of the discussions that I have are around my dinner table. Like it would be with parents, it'd be with family members, it'd be with friends. Like even when we're chopping it up, just like before DOT sessions and stuff, like we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be there if there wasn't the topic, why is this shit on the feed all the time? Like at least it's now in conversation. Because I think through that we can then have discussions about not just the topic, but how we get the information for the topic, how we think critically about our own perspectives. Like that becomes a topic of conversation that's even more important.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great to start the conversation. I think that's what it is.
It's great to start the conversation.
It's great to start the conversation, and at least people now have awareness of the issue which is happening.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. But literally, you need to start doing your research, because sometimes what you do could be actually detrimental to what the actual cause is trying to do. You know,
Black squares.
yeah, like for
Black
example,
squares,
the Black
Blackout
Square.
Tuesday,
Yeah,
like-
and when you do something, just take 48 hours.
To make a decision.
And
man.
just make it, and just think about it before you make a decision, because I'm gonna tell you now, those black squares did nothing, right? But you know what does something? You having a conversation with your family and your friends about racism. Just have one conversation. That does something. Let's talk about practical things that can help. And look, on the other end of that, I don't want to be jumping between two arguments. I do get that certain people, they want to know, but they just don't know, because you only know what you know. Like if you don't know how to help. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't know how to help, then you don't know how to help.
But also, I mean, you got time to research it. If you got time to be scrolling on the gram, if you got time to be like talking some shit, you got time to be researching, man. I think it's kind of tough because I'm torn between two perspectives personally on the way that I feel about research. One is that, you should make it as easy as possible for the audience to understand the information. And the other is the audience should want to be getting as much information as possible. Yeah. But I can't control how much someone wants information. I can control how it's I can control how it's packaged, so it makes it a little bit easier to digest. And for me personally, to get angry at the audience that I might be reaching because they don't get it like that, I can be frustrated for sure. I can get angry about it, but it's not
doing anything.
It at the end of the day is not going to do anything to better the situation aside from ostracize them, man. Like it's just going to make further division, which doesn't help the cause, any cause.
I think that's the importance of using Instagram as a tool. If you have a platform, you got a responsibility. You know what I'm saying? You got a responsibility. You don't have to get everything right. You don't have to be a role model, but at least take some time in just researching. 48 hours, fams. 69 minutes in. Shout out everyone watching. For the last 30 minutes, the most important word, 48 hours.
Yeah, and we run that decision as well in OTG, man.
Yeah.
Any decision we make, 48 hours.
Because I get it. I'm an emotional person, so I make a lot of emotional decisions. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it get pretty fucks up for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes sometimes I make decisions out of emotion, and I'm look back when I'm less emotional. I'm just like, I've got to be an idiot. You know what I mean? Like, I'm an idiot for not just even taking 48 hours.
You're just caught in the moment, man. You're
caught in the sauce. You caught in the sauce.
You got some.
It's okay.
You got some good idea. You know, like fuck. Everyone's like, oh yeah, hype it up, let's go.
The worst is when your idea is shit, but everyone around you gasses you. See, that's why you got to have real people around you, man. Fuck.
Same as music.
Because we're trying to make it out the hood.
Same as music.
But I think you got to have people who are somewhat like assertive around you too. It can't just be people who are, because it's useful to have that insight. But if you're someone who's quite assertive yourself, like I feel like when we have conversations with DOT, for example, we all got opinions. You know what I mean? And I think that's useful because if we didn't like get all outspoken about our own opinions sometimes, then we wouldn't say it's trash. It'd be weird. It'd be like one person gassing up an idea and everyone else being like,
it don't work like that.
Yeah, same thing, man. When it comes to music, don't let your mates gas you up. This shit's whack, man. Just tell them it's whack so they can start moving again.
Or just wait. Just give it 48 hours.
Give it 48 hours. Listen to the song. It's shit.
Well, look, people, this was great. Shout out Tommy. We're gonna wrap this up, man. I think we gave people a lot of information. We're gonna do this a lot more often.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna package this in a way. We're gonna try to touch a lot of people. Pause. Reach out to a lot of people. Well, the whole purpose of this is trying to inform people, get to people. And I understand sort of people don't like certain people. They want to know, but it's just not for them to be watching the news or reading articles. It's just not for them. So if we can summarize it for them, we're not going to be factual 100%, but we're going to try to be as factual as we can.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to try and make it as entertaining as you can. Right?
Yes, sir.
So, look, we're tuning out. Shout out to everyone who's still here. Much love.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Be catching you guys soon on DenOfTruth again, man. 100%.
Yes, sir. All right, Indigo, waiting for you to tune out.
oh, damn.
Yeah.
That's
All right, that's it. Cool.